Welcome to 9 to 5 on the Side, the podcast for visionaries who work full-time but carry full-time dreams. I'm your host, TaKenya Jene'a, award-winning entrepreneur, creative strategist, art therapist, believer, and someone who knows what it feels like to have a calling that won't let you sleep. Welcome back to 9 to 5 on the Side podcast. I'm TaKenya Jene'a, and today we're talking about something that affects every area of our lives. Business, partnerships, networking, friendships, and even family. Today's topic is hard conversations. Because if we're honest, growth doesn't happen without them. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. In the book 9 to 5 on the Side, we talk a lot about partnerships and networking, but none of that works without communication. And not just surface level communication. I'm talking about the conversations that feel uncomfortable. The ones that we want to avoid. The ones that make our stomach tight. Hard conversations are important because they create clarity. They reveal intentions. They expose misalignments. And they protect integrity. Hard conversations help relationships either strengthen or honestly, they show us what they are. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. And when I say hard conversations either strengthen relationships or honestly show us what they are, I mean this. We're going to live in the reality of what is. That's what hard conversations do. Now, this is not to negate faith at all, but faith does not mean avoidance. If you decide not to have a hard conversation because you're standing in faith, you may be actually doing yourself a disservice and definitely doing a disservice to the person on the other end who needs to receive the truth. We're going to tell the truth. And this is what it is right now. Yes, I have faith that it will get better. I have faith that things can change. I have faith that things can grow, that growth is possible. But right now, I need you to know this. Right now, we need to have this hard conversation because one of two things is going to happen. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. Either it's going to make you aware if you weren't aware, right? It's going to make that other person aware if they weren't aware. Or it's going to let that person who needs to hear the hard conversation know that you are aware. You know what I'm saying? And if you're aware, then chances are other people are aware too. So sometimes the hard conversation isn't about judgment. It's about protection. It's about preventing you from continuing to make decisions that you may not realize others can already see. It's about stopping patterns that can cost you more later, or stopping patterns that can cost that person more later. And because we love you, or because we care about you, or because we want to see you grow, we're willing to have the hard conversation. We're willing to say, we see it, we're aware, we want better for you. And that's love. Hard conversations is an act of love. And avoiding them doesn't preserve peace. It actually postpones truth and ultimately does a disservice to the person on the other end that needs to hear it. So there's something that always stay with me. If you ever seen the Michael Jackson's This Is It documentary, it captured his preparation for what was supposed to be his final concert. And if you remember this, if you saw it, anytime Michael had to correct somebody or redirect them or challenge what they were doing, his musicians or his dancers and even the background singers, he would always say, with love, with love. And at first, it seemed so simple to me. But the more I watched it and the more I realized that he was really trying to protect them, but guide them at the same time. You know what I mean? And that to me was so powerful. It stuck with me. He wasn't saying what needed to change. He was clearly communicating why he was saying what he was saying. Not to diminish what they were doing, not to embarrass them, not to discard what they had created or how they were moving or whatever it was that the other entertainers were doing that were supporting his concert, but simply to elevate. And what I learned way back then was that correction rooted in love isn't rejection, it's investment. He was invested in his dancers and his musicians and his background singers. He wanted to see them excel and exceed and operate in excellence. And so when you correct someone, when you have a hard conversation with someone, it's because you want to see them excel and exceed. And that is love. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. Here's the reality though. Everyone comes into conversation carrying history. Some people already are dealing with offense. Some people grew up being spoken down to. Some people never felt successful or affirmed. And some people already have negative narratives about themselves. So when correction comes, even when it's necessary, even when it's loving, it can land wrong. That's why how we say things matter as much as what we say. So saying with love isn't just a phrase. It's a posture, it's intention, it's integrity. Another important part of hard conversations is time. Everyone can't respond immediately. Sometimes emotions are high. Sometimes offense is present. And sometimes the clarity, the understanding from that conversation comes later. So we have to allow people the space to step back, reflect, and remove emotions from the situation, from the moment. But here's the key. If after time, after space, after reflection, there is still no movement towards resolution, that conversation still served its purpose. Because now both people are aware. You know where they stand. They know where you stand. And now you have the information to move forward with that wisdom. Hard conversations don't always fix relationships, unfortunately, but they always reveal truth. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. I remember the first hard conversation that I had. Well, I probably had way more hard conversations than this one, but this is the first one that I truly remember and I can reflect back to. So this is one of my vulnerable moments. I've always been a pretty quiet person, introspective person, especially when I was younger. And that can make you seem unassuming, right? People don't know who you are because you haven't spoken yet. You're just observing, okay? So my freshman year of college, I was getting to know different people, hanging out, listening more than I was talking. And some older students invited us to a party and told us it was a small cost to get in. So someone collected the money, including mine. Later in the conversation, I found out that everyone else had paid $5 and I paid $10. Now, I didn't embarrass the person that I paid the money to publicly. I pulled them to the side and I said, wait a minute, what's this? That was my first clear memory of having to have a hard conversation with someone who was older than me, with somebody who had more influence in the space. I remember though at that moment, and I remember now, and in every hard conversation I have to have, that burning sensation in me to speak up. Because if I didn't, that feeling would sit inside of me, as it pertains to myself, about my choice not to act. And it would sit inside of me. Negative thoughts of that individual would sit inside of me forever, right? So I needed to give myself, and as well as that person, the opportunity to speak up or to be forgiven, right? We needed to be forgiven. I needed to forgive myself, and I needed to be able to allow the opportunity for that person for me to forgive that person for what I felt was deceptive at the time. Yeah, so that was my first clear memory of a hard conversation, and it taught me something important. It doesn't matter the space you're in. You have to speak up for yourself. You have to have the hard conversations. Hard conversations are often about self-respect. It's about saying, I see this. I'm not okay with this. Let's address it. And I've been doing that ever since. Do I love hard conversations? No. You know the new saying now, they're like, I know a hard conversation hate to see me coming. And and I'm sure it does. So, but clarity is necessary. It's necessary. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. Even in business, hard conversations are unavoidable. You can't move forward when only one person understands the plan. Expectations aren't clear. Decisions are being made without explanation. And communication lacks transparency. Sometimes hard conversations may sound like this. So, help me to understand what you're saying. Help me to understand this. Or it can sound like, we need clarity here. Or I need clarity here. Or something about this doesn't feel right. Or it can be simply, let's revisit this. I'm not sure about that right now. Give me a moment, give me a couple days, and then let's come back and revisit this. Those are hard conversations, but necessary ones. And we're talking about business relationships here, because partnerships without communication eventually collapse under confusion. And these types of conversations, hard conversations, ultimately bring clarity, whether the clarity is spoken in the moment or revealed later. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. So yeah, hard conversations make you aware. They make the other person aware. They strengthen communication or reveal misalignment. Either way, they protect your vision, your integrity, or even your relationships. So here's my encouragement. Have the conversation. Say it with love. Say it with intention. Say it with grace and integrity. And trust that truth, spoken well, always serves a purpose. Always. Even if you think in the moment it didn't feel like it. Even if the response was not what you wanted and it hurted, the hard conversation has served its purpose. Like and subscribe to all of our channels. If you think this topic deserves a part 2 with a guest, leave a comment and let me know. Thank you for listening to 9 to 5 on the side. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who's building their dream right alongside their responsibilities. Don't forget to grab a copy of the book, the workbook, or the audiobook, and join me for one of our live trainings where we turn ideas into action. Connect with me on Instagram at Thoughtful Endeavors and on LinkedIn under TaKenya Jene'a for daily strategies, encouragement, and purpose-driven insight. Until next time, stay grounded, stay encouraged, stay faithful to the work you're called to build, and most importantly, do it for you. Like and subscribe to all of our channels.